Thank you for everyone again for coming from all over the world here. I know it's not easy and it's great. And thanks everyone again for coming here. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much. I think let's just maybe do some introductions for the other team members that are joining. Alex, maybe you can just give us a quick intro.
Cool. Thanks, Robert. So great to see our amazing SSV friends and family on the call. But for those that don't know me, I'm part of the ecosystem development team at SSV Labs and been here for almost 2 years. Thanks, Robert.
Amazing. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you joining. And Alon, maybe you can just give us a quick intro.
Hey everyone, my name is Alan. I'm the CEO of SSV Labs, the core team behind SSV and now Compose as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And that's obviously why we're here, right? Really big announcement from the SSV team. We're super duper excited to show the community what we've been working on. And, we're really happy to have the DAO and the foundation and everyone involved to kind of provide their perspectives. And I guess last but not least, my name is Robert. I'll be moderating the call for today. I'm the product marketer of SSV Labs team. And let's kick it off, guys. Firstly, I just want to say that we will be giving away some exclusive Compose swag. So the first way that you guys can win is by signing up to the Compose newsletter. I just posted the link in the chat. So if you guys sign up, we'll be doing a random draw and we'll be sending out some super exclusive swag that's no one's actually even been privy to. So that's really, really exciting. Let's kick it off. I'm just going to share my screen. Nice. Cool. So the first part of this call, we already did the introduction. So the first segment of the call is, let's just recap a bit what happened to SSV in 2025. It's been a wild year. We had big releases, we have massive partnerships, really big ecosystem growth. And of course, we've been working with our contributors all over the world. So I'm gonna leave it open to the DAO Foundation. Let's get started with the state of SSV. Whoops.
Yeah, so I'll take it from the foundation side. So the growth has been enormous. I mean, what we've seen over the past year, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, we have 14% of ETH stake going through SSV DVT, 5 million stake deep, and around 2,000 operators in the system. The growth has been substantial, enormous, and we're very, very proud of the growth that we've done during the past year. Other than that, I can say from the foundation side, we've done a lot of work on the regulatory environment as well. Recently, we received the MiCA approval for the European markets. In addition to that, as you all know, we've been listed with Kraken. In addition, hopefully, we'll have the same listing happening in Revolut in the very, very near future. We've done some major changes in the way that DAO has been operating. We've done some changes on the VOC, moving to an operator committee. The foundation is going to hire a community manager. We've been working a lot about the 4-year strategic budget of the DAO, the foundation, going forward. So a lot of things are happening from that front.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think we have some really big news besides Compose, and I think one of the big things to mention is also the operator growth, right? We've seen many more operators join the ecosystem. and it's been really amazing to see the adoption on that side. Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, can we maybe speak towards a bit more in terms of operator growth, what that means for the ecosystem? I don't know if is G-Beast over there? No.
Yeah,
Back, yeah.
I can't see you all the way in the back.
Teeny tiny. Sorry, man. It's a big room.
No worries, no worries. Please tell us a bit more about the operators.
Sure, yeah. So we have certainly seen a lot of operator growth. A lot of them have been sort of private operators or clusters that have dedicated to the specific company that is running the validators. There's basically, as companies like Kraken move in, they'll bring their own set of operators with them and set them up for private growth. We've seen a lot less growth on the public side, as in sort of smaller operators or solo operators, things like that coming in. And so that's been a topic of discussion that we've had as a committee, as well as on the forums. And there've been some a temp check very recently. As we sort of said, what are some of the actions we might want to undertake to try and strengthen this side of the ecosystem? So that has been, I don't want to give away too much of what I'll be presenting here in the room later on today, but that has been part of the focus of moving from the verified operator committee, which has a specific mandate to focus on verified operators and that subset of operators that get that check mark. It says they're professionals and they're really good. And moving to the notion of an operator committee, which is how do we support all operators, not just verified operators, but how do we also work on sort of doing education and grassroots initiatives and things to support all operators. Because the network is strongest when we have new people coming in and lots of enthusiasm around it. And so I see that as going to be an important part of what we'll be working on in the coming months and years.
Amazing. That's really, really cool. Thanks, G-Beast. Definitely excited for more operator growth, solo staking. And yeah, it's an important part of the SSV ecosystem for sure. So next up, I think let's chat a bit more about partnerships. I'm gonna call Alex to the stage and discuss a bit about our partnerships, what's been happening, and yeah, take it away.
Thanks, Robert. I think it's really been there's a bit of echo on your side. All good. Really been an incredible year for growth and part onboarded onto SSV. So I think on the previous slide, Robert, I think you showed that we're close to 5 million ETH stake or surpassed that recently. At the end of the year or the start of 2025, we're around 1.5 million ETH stake. And just to give you a sense that internally we thought a really good year for us would be to double that to 3 million. So even to our most bullish expectations, we've superseded that. So really incredible to see. I think that's down to a few things. One, like we've got really quality partners on board from various verticals of the staking ecosystem. So on one side, Lido, obviously with lots of confidence in the technology and working with us for many years, let curated node operators run SSV for a portion of their keys. So a lot of the node operators that we've had good relationships with and working for many, many years, had the confidence to run SSV there. So that's been fantastic. And thanks to all those that have supported us. And then the second part of that is, of course, bringing in partners I mentioned before, like Kraken and large centralized exchanges. So more to come on that front as well. And then I think the third part is just as the staking ecosystem shapeshifts and evolves. Last year, obviously, restaking was a big topic, and we had the opportunity to work with many partners, and we continue to do so as well. But with this year, as the space institutionalizes, so we have digital asset treasuries and staking ETFs, that a lot of our partners are able to build structured products, one to bring the technology to these kind of customers, and there's a really good synergy with what DVT can provide. But also, let's not forget about incentivized mainnet and making it a compelling offer for these institutions to get their hands dirty with the technology and really benefit from it. So I think these three things have really triggered and catalyzed a lot of growth for SSV over the last year, and it continues to go from strength to strength. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, it's been really amazing to see what we've achieved. I think especially on the larger staking side, it's really exciting to see like the growth and also who we've been partnering with. Really big players in the industry, and I'm really excited, not just on the DVT side, but also the Compose side. I'd like to open the stage to Age Manning from Sigma Prime. Another really big, my apologies. Another really big thing that we've been having on SSV now is the upgraded Explorer. So from my side, it's like much easier to track your operators, track your validators to see who's participating in the cluster. It's been really interesting to see how useful this platform has become for everyone participating in the ecosystem. So I think one of the main other things here is that we've removed the dependency from other explorers. So that's not, it allows us to work on this even more. And then, of course, we have we've been doing lots of development from the SSV client side. The client is getting better, it's getting faster. We've really added a lot of new functionality here, like the metrics, multi-client, which we'll be diving into now. And then, of course, weighted attestations is a very interesting concept that we've been working on. We actually have a blog post about this on the SSV website, which basically has allowed node operators to really squeeze the lemon from their setups. And then mainly also really big upgrade that we did is allowing 3K validators per cluster, which is huge. I think even the biggest node operators now, if you're running a cluster of 4 node operators, it's 12,000 validators you're essentially able to run on there. So really big congrats for the dev teams and the product teams that have been working on this. And as you can see from the slide, we have BApps based apps, and this essentially was the foundation for Compose. So really excited for Alon to also take us away later on Compose. I don't know if the community has noticed, but we've also updated the website, given it a better look and feel, more mature, and also talking a bit more about institutions as that's a really important aspect for SSV. So yeah, I think
I'm going to chime in. I just think it's a great look. I love the new website. So whoever did that, thumbs up.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys? Do you have any initial thoughts on that? I mean, we're a fireside chat, so please feel free to chip in. Let's talk about things that are interesting for you. But yeah, I think for now, let me hand it over to Age Manning from Sigma Prime to introduce us to Anchor mainnet. Really big, another milestone for us.
Yeah, cheers, thanks. Hi, everyone. So I'm Age Manning. I'm from Sigma Prime. So some of you may know for the last year, we've been working on a second client in Rust, and it's called Anchor. So this week, we have released our first mainnet release. So this is now mainnet ready, production ready, and we're here to kind of announce it to the SSV community and hope that we can get some users to use this so that we can get a bit more resilience into the SSV network. So I just want to give it just a very high level overview of what are the design principles and what Anchor is all about. So the first thing is that when we started, we wanted this thing to be the most performant client that we can make, similar to what we have done with Lighthouse. So it's designed and optimized to be very efficient. We've used modular components from Lighthouse, which have been battle tested, and we're stress tested with over 1,000 validators per operator. As we just saw, we were upgrading into 3K and potentially further. So Anchor should support as many validators as SSV allows per operator. And we intend to optimize that as well as we go. It's Go SSV compatible. So what I mean by that is it's very easy to swap between Go and Anchor. Because we are compatible with the keys that Go SSV uses, simply if you're already running an SSV node, a Go SSV node, and you want to switch to Anchor, It's simply just a matter of just moving the operator key file. So we have documentation on how to do that if you want to get started. And of course, Anchor is security focused. So it has undergone a security review. We have built a fuzzing framework that fuzzes the Go SSV and Anchor components. We've made that public. It's at sigp-ssv fuzz if anyone is interested. You can run the fuzzes yourself, and if you've noticed to find any crashes, feel free to reach out to our team if we can try and optimize for that. The SSV fuzz is a continued work, so we also would like help from the community if people or ideas if people have different targets they'd like to test. Yeah, and so the next slide shows that SSV with the release of Anchor is now fully multi-client. It's upgraded to it's a fully multi-client protocol similar to what we have in Ethereum mainnet. In Ethereum mainnet, we track client diversity. I have a little graph there which shows the different consensus clients, and we try and track the client diversity there. The main reason of that is because the more diverse we have in clients, the more resilient the network is. There has been a few bugs on mainnet that have been prevented because one client crashed, but we had a lot of other clients kind of picking it up. So being multi-client essentially gives you a lot of resilience in critical bugs, because if there's a bug in one client and you're running multiple clients in a cluster, then the cluster, if it has enough fault tolerance, is not going to go down. Similarly with if you have malicious actors that have a specific attack vector, you typically find that one client might be vulnerable, but not all of them. So you're resilient in that regard as well. So if you are running large clusters and you have a decent amount of fault tolerance, it might be a good idea to try and get a bit of client diversity across your cluster for these kinds of resilience. Having multiple clients, which I've noticed when we have on Ethereum mainnet, that we can improve client performance together. So if one client finds some really cool way of optimizing, and when we measure the metrics, they're significantly outperforming the other, then we can copy them across. And finally, we get extra security because both of these clients are built independently by independent teams. They're supposed to adhere to the same specification, and we can compare essentially. If one is doing something wrong, the entire network doesn't just follow down that path. The second client can kind of catch them up on it. So we now have all of these features, which is a very good thing, and that has been released this week. The next slide pretty much is to our documentation, which we encourage everyone to have a look at. It gives you some information on how to run Anchor, how to install it, and also how to migrate from SSV if you're currently doing it. There's a few devs in this call, myself included, so if there's any other questions, we're happy to take them at the end. But I guess we're just announcing that it's official, it's mainnet, it's production ready as of today. Thanks, everyone.
Amazing. Super exciting, guys. Daniel, do you have any thoughts on this or any questions from the foundation?
No, Edge summed it up pretty well.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks to the Sigma Prime team for joining us today. Like I said, it's a really big step for SSV in going multi-client. Unlike Ethereum, as we know, having multiple clients is definitely the way to keep the network alive and healthy. And I'm excited for the future to see how we get more adoption here. Yeah. So I would like to invite along to the stage. There's some really exciting news from his side. I'll stop sharing my screen now, and then you can take us away.
Everyone, super excited to be here. Let me share my screen. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So we have two main big things I want to talk about today. The first being SSV staking. We've been talking about it on the forum in different ways for a bunch of different time. But we now have this model in mind, which I think is extremely aligned with what we're trying to do at SSV. And that is SSV staking, but more so making SSV this ETH-accruing token which is, I think, is a very, very powerful thing for the greater community. SSV has been growing quite rapidly the past few years, as everyone kind of pointed out. And really the incentivized mainnet was a big reason for it to do so. SSV since mainnet has been applying this incentivization program where every active validator on SSV receives SSV tokens as extra boost to their rewards, and that really carried over to the last 2 years to tremendous growth. But it also came at a cost where, of course, we had to create SSV and create inflation. And that created three main challenges that I think are worth talking about. One is stability. So operators and stakers pay their fees in SSV, both operators' fees as so network fees. But because network fees are denominated or calculated as a function of ETH price and ETH APR on staking, that creates instability in terms of how many SSV as network fee you pay for using the network, the protocol. And that instability creates a lot of friction for large-scale stakers and partners building on top of SSV. The second part is kind of alignment between the actual partners that use SSV and the greater SSV community and token holders and so on. And in that, there's also an element of excitement. There is a disconnect kind of between the tremendous growth of the network, I believe, and the greater SSV community. And I think we need to address all three of those challenges. And to address them, we have to rethink how that relationship looks like. And the result of that thinking the past almost 18 months is SSV staking. And more so, the idea that SSV can be this token that through which people can gain and earn more ETH. And the way it works is actually quite simple. We will introduce the ability to pay network fees and operator fees in ETH. Currently, it's limited to SSV. We'll open up the opportunity to do that in ETH as well. All of the ETH flowing from network fees will be, and on the other side, it will flow into a contract, and on the other end, will enable people to stake SSV, meaning locking them into a contract. And all of the ETH together with the staked SSV will create this flow of ETH rewards back to SSV stakers pro rata, meaning that all the ETH flowing into from network fees will flow to the hands of SSV stakers, and SSV stakers will play a major role in the protocol itself. It's still under heavy research, but nonetheless, that mechanism will create inflow of ETH rewards to SSV stakers. That's where the ETH-accruing token comes to play. And the cool part about it is, if we apply the current stats of the network, meaning we take everything that SSV is today, the amount of staked ETH, price of SSV, the network fee, the APR on ETH staking, et cetera, and we calculate how much that results in extra rewards for SSV stakers, assuming, for example, 50% staked SSV, which is very high, meaning 1 out of every 2 SSV will be staked. Even at today's setup, at fairly low prices because of market conditions, we're talking about 15% yearly rewards for SSV staking in ETH, in actual ETH. And I think this is unprecedented. I don't know of any other token that offers this or has this mechanism built inside. And this is super exciting because it aligns the stakers or the users of SSV together with the SSV holders or the greater SSV community, but also aligns SSV very much so to Ethereum itself. I mean, ultimately, we are part of this amazing Ethereum community. And if SSV becomes this vehicle for which people can stake and earn ETH, I think this is as big as Ethereum staking itself. This is something that, especially at these rates, is not really available anywhere. And the cool part about it is we can simulate different scenarios and market conditions and see what the result is. And so if you go to ETH-accruing.com, this is a very simple calculator we did to showcase under different market conditions that you can play with. What is the expected returns or the rewards rates for SSV staking? You'll see that as SSV grows, and we've talked about today, SSV has 5 million ETH staked, and we are kind of looking at the pipeline we have and the big partnerships we're working on, and potentially this 5 million can become 8 or 10 million staked ETH in 2026. You can project that and see exactly what can be the SSV rewards you get again in ETH, and I think this is extremely exciting. And the mechanics of all of this is already we've posted on kind of request for comments on the SSV forum, so you're more than welcome to go to the SSV forum and check the post and kind of the what we're thinking there. But this is something I feel very strongly about, because it aligns both what we're doing in SSV with the growth of SSV and Ethereum itself. And I think this is an extremely interesting use case for how infrastructure can create this new thing out of nothing, which I'm very excited about. And so SSV staking is something we see as strategic for the project, and would love any comment from the community from now and then moving on into development, DAO votes, and everything that involves getting this to mainnet. And so I encourage everyone to go to ETH-accruing.com, see and read more about what is the concept of ETH-accruing token for SSV. Play around with the market conditions and see where it can take us as a project, and then kind of give us your thoughts and feedback. And so this is one of the major things I think we should be focusing on and are focusing on. So yeah, exciting. It's super exciting to talk with you about this.
Guys, this is huge. Like, this is really big news. Thanks for sharing, Alon. I think we can just sit here maybe for a moment, maybe get some feedback from the DAO and the foundation. What do you guys believe this will unlock? I believe it's still, as it's still up for DAO approval. But I think this is also, the tokenomics is always an important aspect. And I think really big steps here. So yeah, please do let us know.
I think it's a great step forward for the development of our tokenomics. I think not only does it solve a lot of our issues that we've had with our operating markets, and like Alon mentioned, the stability of paying fees for stakers, it presents an amazing opportunity for SSV holders to accrue ETH, which is just an amazing opportunity, both in support of the protocol and as investors. I think it's just a massive increase in value for everyone in the network as a whole.
I think making SSV an ETH-accruing token is definitely the right way to go. And it's where tokenomics seem to go for other protocols as well. We've seen other protocols say, what do we do with our token? Why do we even have it? And then pivot to, we are now an ETH-accruing token. So I think this is right for SSV as well.
Amazing. Any last thoughts? Maybe from our divers, our ambassadors? If no, we're all good. Guys, so the reason we are all here today is for what's coming up right now. And SSV is the home of critical ETH infrastructure and ETH native solutions, and we really, as an ecosystem, really our North Star is always to, make Ethereum better. And I believe DVT was a really amazing first step. Having secured 14% of all ETH validators within about a year and a half, 2 years is absolutely insane. And we're not stopping there. So I'd like to give the stage back to Alon again to tell us, like, what is this next big step that we're taking for SSV Network? Thank you, Alon. You can take it away.
Awesome. I hope you can see my screen again. So this is a big one. So we've talked about SSV, the growth of SSV and SSV staking. But I think that one of the key things to remember is that staking is ultimately this game in which we have a fixed decreasing amount of returns for staking, the bigger ETH staking is. And we've set out to, at the beginning of the year, to talk about the concept of based apps, where the core idea of based apps was really to just expand the pie, expand the realm of possibilities for what validators can do, harness this amazing piece of infrastructure that the Ethereum ecosystem built throughout the last 4 years, 5 years almost, and then of course this unlocks additional rewards that those validators can earn. And I think this is a foundational future that we have to build towards. And so with SSV staking, we're connecting what's already existing, it's kind of the connective tissue, the economic connective tissue, what existing. Compose is there to expand the realm of possibilities. More specifically, it tries to tackle one of the biggest challenges we have in the Ethereum ecosystem, which is fragmentation, or more specifically, fragmentation that the rollup-centric roadmap created. So I want to dive into kind of the thought process behind Compose and then actually talk about what Compose is. If we break down what transactions on Ethereum look like, or what are the properties of transactions on Ethereum, we have three main properties for those types of transactions. One is the idea that transactions on Ethereum can encapsulate a bunch of interactions within a transaction, which is think of almost any dApp that you're using. It almost always encapsulates a bunch of interactions within the transaction. Ethereum transactions also have this property of atomicity, meaning that all of those interactions either happen together or don't happen at all. And this is really critical for a lot of the more economic type of transactions we're doing. Think about just transferring ERC20s or trading, flash loans, all of those types of things are building on the fact that those transactions are atomic. And lastly, Ethereum transactions are also synchronous, meaning that those interactions happen one after the other in a single transaction. Those three properties are super important to what ultimately the UX and developer features are on Ethereum. Now, if you take those three properties and apply them to cross-chain or cross-rollup transactions, then you get this concept called synchronous composability. It's been talked about for a while, and it's been researched for a while as a way to kind of, or as kind of the end goal or end game of interop between rollups. This thing that can consolidate Ethereum. And today, really, we have obviously successfully implemented the rollup-centric roadmap in the sense that rollups not only can scale Ethereum, but also present a huge opportunity in terms of a business model for various big brands around the world. And we saw a bunch of them spinning up their own rollups. But nonetheless, each rollup is its own kind of economic island, because rollups are not really connected to one another or very loosely connected to one another. And that's what we're trying to do with Compose. There's mainly two solutions to interop today. One is asynchronous message passing, which enables sending messages or calling other rollup functions in other smart contracts. The problem with it is it creates a lot of latency, and it's asynchronous, meaning that you only can do one action after the other. And it has no atomicity. It's kind of breaking a lot of the foundational properties of Ethereum transactions. The other approach is intents. Intents present an amazing user experience for the user, but they're somewhat limited by the type of liquidity they have or the type of applications they have. And all in all, we can, if we kind of put it on a graph, on the one axis, you have interop solutions which are either slow or fast. and or another type of another way of looking at it, the type of interop solutions which are either very generic, meaning you can do whatever you want with them, or very specific. And the two types of solutions are either slow and generic, which is message passing, asynchronous message passing, or very fast, but also very specific, which is the intent-based approaches for interop. None of them really enable us to interact between rollups the same way we interact on Ethereum, meaning that you have this greater Ethereum with a bunch of different rollups, but we still don't know how to connect them in a way that feels consistent in terms of user experience and developer experience. And that's what Compose is trying to solve. Compose is trying to be this interop layer for Ethereum rollups, which is fast, but also generic in the sense that it enables really any type of interaction you want, which it's not dependent on liquidity or specific implementations. It's just message passing and calling other contracts, but it's fast and atomic. And that's something very unique. That's what synchronous composability enables us. Compose focuses on consolidating liquidity around Ethereum and its rollups, enable instant transactions. And by instant, I truly mean instant transactions, super fast withdrawals out of rollups, and most importantly, atomic and composable transactions. Those are the kind of the core things that Compose is focusing on to try to solve the interop challenge that Ethereum has. Compose is building on top of the most used rollup stack in the space, which is OP, specifically the OP succinct stack, which introduces ZK proofs for OP stack rollups. But it introduces two main components, which are kind of the game changers in terms of approach to interop. The first one is the shared publisher, and the second one is the shared deposit bridge. I'll start with the shared deposit bridge. Composability in blockchain should start with liquidity. The reason why is that almost any type of transaction you can think of involves some kind of asset transfer or asset usage. But the problem we have is that when the rollup stacks were built, the ERC20 representations for tokens they've built were never meant to leave the actual L2s. They were never meant to be composable. And that's a major hurdle to what can be done in terms of interoperability. That's why most of the solutions, interop solutions we're seeing today are based on liquidity, meaning that there's somebody providing liquidity for bridging, for example. That's great for user experience, but it's very limited to the amount of tokens that can be used or the liquidity depth that can be used. We need something which is much more programmatic, much more liquidity independent. And so the shared bridge is exactly that. The shared bridge is this entry point to a bunch of different rollups, where the goal is to create this from day one composable liquidity layer that stretches across multiple rollups. And that liquidity layer is kind of the superhighway liquidity layer, which is composable from day one, meaning the assets can move around between those rollups without the need of liquidity, without the need of somebody putting in liquidity, without the need of resolvers, it's completely programmatic. And think about it as, if you move an ERC20 token or ETH today on Ethereum, there is no liquidity that somebody puts in or resolvers. You just move the asset to another account because it's programmatic. We need the same thing for liquidity across rollups. And so this shared deposit bridge is doing exactly that. It's the entry point for multiple rollups. It creates ERC20 representation of Ethereum tokens that are from day one composable, meaning they can move around freely without the need of liquidity or resolvers. It's ZK powered, meaning that in order to withdraw out, we're using ZK proofs and not fraud proofs, even for existing rollups like Base, Arbitrum, Unichain, and so on. And that means super fast withdrawals for users. Instead of 7-day withdrawals, we're cutting it down to 1 hour and potentially even shorter times for withdrawal. Just think of the order of magnitude faster user experience. And so the shared deposit bridge is the first major component we need to change in the way we think about rollups and how they can interact with. The second part is the based share publisher. We had to rethink how synchronous composability can work because all of the other solutions or research before Compose focused on shared sequencing, meaning there's one sequencer for multiple rollups. And that always seemed wrong and broken because one of the main benefits of running a rollup is the fact that you have your own sequencer and your own autonomy to build blocks and roll out features in the way you want them to roll out. And so the shared publisher really changes the way we think about how this is possible because the shared publisher keeps sequencer independence, but still enables synchronous composability to work, meaning that every rollup that exists on the Compose network, every integrated rollup, still keeps its own sequencer independence, but can still join and do synchronous composable transactions between integrated rollups. And even more so, we enable to do that with existing rollups like Base, Arbitrum, and Uniswap. And the way it works behind the scenes is that it uses a very lightweight consensus protocol between those sequencers, together with ZK proofs produced by those sequencers, and it aggregates those ZK proofs into one efficient proof that can prove a bunch of different rollups at once. And that's how the superblock is settled on Ethereum, meaning that a bunch of rollups produce blocks. Those blocks have ZK proofs for them, and they get aggregated into one proof and submitted to Ethereum. And there's huge economies of scale because the cost of submitting one ZK proof, either it's aggregated or not, is almost the same. Meaning that if we have a lot of rollups that are aggregated into one proof, we can more frequently post those settlement proofs on Ethereum and cut down significantly the withdrawal times much quicker than even 1 hour. And the fact that this shared publisher is also based, meaning that SSV validators are actually running that piece of software, it's truly innovative in the sense that we can open it up to any rollup without losing the independence and integrity of those rollups. Furthermore, all of those interactions between rollups will carry a fee, and that fee will be collected, most of it to the SSV validators in ETH as extra rewards outside of what staking they earn in staking, and part of it to the sequencers themselves. And so, in effect, we're also creating this new revenue stream, both for validators but also sequencers, and we can buff out all of the inefficiencies and all of the difficulties those sequencers have or the rollups have in terms of the economic stability of just running a rollup. And so the base shared publisher architecture is truly something I think that can play along with existing rollups and is enabling us to do synchronous composability, but in a different way they currently or up until this point was thought possible. And this is really what Compose is. Compose enables synchronous composability, which in turn will create much more cross-chain transactions because the friction will be gone. It's going to be much easier to do cross-chain transactions. Those cross-chain transactions each one of them will have fee, and it will generate a bunch of fee to validators that run the shared publisher. And ultimately, it goes back to the SSV DAO in the form of fees. And so this loop is extremely important. We are expanding the pie, as it were, meaning that we're expanding what Ethereum validators can do in return to extra rewards. And I think this is extremely important because we're not just tackling one of the biggest challenges Ethereum has with the kind of the fragmentation that rollups created, but we also found a way to enable validators in Ethereum to earn extra rewards by fixing that problem. And so I'm super excited about what Compose can do both for SSV, but also for the greater Ethereum, which I think is extremely important. And if we look at what we already did and where we're going from here, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to release the first testnet for Compose. Yes, it's the first testnet for Compose called Alpha 0. In this first testnet, we're going to actually show, we're going to take 2 OP stack rollups and enable anyone to deploy contracts and interact with them. But also we've created our own web app showcasing how you can instantly bridge any token between rollups and how you can do cross-chain DEX trades between any rollups. This is Alpha 0. That's going to come in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Next is Alpha 1 towards Dev Connect, maybe after Dev Connect, where we're going to, for the first time, also integrate with the base rollup on testnet, meaning that the 2 rollups that we've mentioned before, together with the base testnet rollup, all 3 will be able to do synchronous composable transactions. Think how powerful it is for a composed rollup to now do seamless transactions between rollups. This is something that we've never saw anywhere else. Tapping into the dApps, liquidity, and user base of the base rollup, and later on Arbitrum, Uniswap, and more. And then towards end of Q1, early Q2, we're gonna, for the first time, launch the shared bridge to mainnet. This is going to be the first step to for the mainnet rollout of Compose, where we're going to start enabling depositing liquidity into the shared bridge and transforming how liquidity works between rollups. And after that, V1 for Compose somewhere around Q2, end of Q2 2026. This is super aggressive, but I think it's also very much doable. We've been working on it behind the scenes for a few months. I can tell you that Alpha 0 testnet and the web app demo that we created is amazing. It works like magic. And I think people will be very excited about what synchronous composability can do for Ethereum and the implications are for the greater Ethereum ecosystem with all of its rollups and more. And so I'm super excited to finally kind of share this with you and others. And bring this super important piece of infrastructure to Ethereum, which I think is desperately needed.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Elon. That is, it's truly, I also think it's we in the marketing team like to call it the holy grail of interop because it really does feel that way. But I think let's just sit on this for a moment. We got quite a lot to unpack. But maybe let's hear from the Darwin Foundation, your guys' thoughts. Yeah.
I think Holy Grail is a pretty good description of it. I mean, it sounds pretty amazing.
It speaks for itself. It seems pretty revolutionary.
Yeah, agreed. I think like when we look at the solutions that we currently have, it's like, it really is a game changer.
Yeah, from a technology perspective, it really puts me in mind of this is black magic. Whenever somebody says ZK proofs, like how could we ever, and then somebody goes, oh, it will all be okay with ZK proofs, right? Like, but it is really, we haven't even seen what ZK proofs can do yet. And this is one example.
This is good magic. This is white magic.
This is white magic.
So I mean, like from an operator perspective, what do you guys feel about this? I think it's being able to provide validators these new opportunities really is important. Like as we saw with the incentivized mainnet, validators really want that extra APY, and I think being able to provide that APY, but you're contributing to the decentralization and you're contributing to solving the fragmentation problem in L2s. I think it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, this is GVs here. I had a question that I'd asked Alon during his preview of that he gave to us around the table about an hour ago. And that was, this is great. How can at what point can everybody start participating in this? And so I think when it opens up to the public, the testnet opens up, I think that'll be a big moment. And everybody here and everybody, that is involved in the ecosystem is going to want to get their testnet set up. And so I think when that day arrives, it'll be exciting for everyone.
Completely agreed. Do we have any initial questions from our ambassadors?
Yeah, Yuting online. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Alan, for sharing the Compose. It's a big moment, and very, very excited to see all your black guys in the room. Yeah, I have two questions for those Compose. Yeah, the first is I would like to know what role the SSV token will play in the Compose, and how SSV token empowers Compose. Yeah, this is the first one. Yeah, I think it's for Alan.
Yeah, I can take it. So I think that it plays very interestingly with SSV staking that we've talked about before. If we can drive more rewards back to validators, that for one creates a very unique value proposition for SSV in general. If you can create this unique type of reward stream back to validators. And two, ultimately, the DAO will take a network fee out of those rewards as well. And I think that at a rate greater than staking because it's very unique, right? And so ultimately, SSV holders will enlarge the pie, the ETH pie, as a figure of speech, that will ultimately go as rewards back to SSV stakers. And so I think this is kind of the strategy where we say there's what the type of realm we're at right now, which is Ethereum staking. There is kind of an upper bound of what a validator can earn, and then we're building around as this new economics with SSV staking, incentivized mainnet, DVT, this whole thing. Compose here is basically enlarging that pie. And if it can do so successfully, will strengthen significantly SSV because this is a unique value proposition that SSV validators will enjoy participating in. And so I think that's where the kind of the synergy comes from. And two, I think this deepens our mission of building this essential infrastructure for Ethereum, starting with DVT and now Compose. And for me personally, it's very important to, ultimately we're doing things here and we want to leave a legacy of making Ethereum better, right? And so that's the ultimately goal. And so I think Compose is really, really in a very unique way does that. And not only that, but also manages to connect back to the biggest infrastructure component we have in Ethereum, which are the validators themselves. And so if this is successful, I think we can expect a lot of value flowing to Ethereum and to SSV as well.
Got it, and love this new tokenomics. Yeah, another thing is, I'm thinking about how to motivate the rollups. There are lots of L2. So how to motivate those rollups to integrate our Compose and accomplish this big mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of hinted about it, and we're living a bit of magic towards DevConnect and so on. But Compose will bootstrap connectivity or synchronous composable connectivity to the largest rollups today on Ethereum, meaning that any rollup that joins Compose instantly get the chance to tap into the liquidity, users, and dApps on the biggest rollups in the industry in a way that is not possible today. And this is the wet dream of every rollup, right? The biggest challenge for rollups is to bootstrap, right? The biggest challenge is how do I get users? How do I get liquidity? How do I get developers, right? And so if you as a rollup can integrate to Compose and expose yourself and all of your users to the vast kind of blue ocean of dApps happening on Base and Arbitrum and OP mainnet and Unichain, etc. From day one, this is incredible, but it's a two-way street because you're also opening up whatever happens on your rollup to them as well, meaning that Base users can now, in a single transaction, interact with dApps on another chain. And so I think that will be the biggest driver for rollups to join Compose, because if you enable this connectivity on a way that is just not possible today, this is the greatest thing that happened to if you go to L2Beat and look at the rollup list, this is the greatest thing that happened to all of the rollups ranked 5 and down. Because if you're on the top 4 rollups, you're golden. You're great. Everyone comes to you. But if you're the 5th and smaller rollups, it's very difficult to compete with Base and Arbitrum and others. And so Compose is the best thing that ever happened, because you now have a way to really tap into the success of those bigger rollups and enjoy their network effect. And I think that will what ultimately lead a new renaissance in rollups and in general, kind of how we look at rollups in general, moving from economic islands to this greater interconnected superhighway of liquidity and transactions.
Right. So L2 no need to compete for users anymore. Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. But another thing is, you just mentioned we need to deploy liquidity to our Compose. I didn't understand that, why we need to deploy liquidity in this.
It's not deploying liquidity to Compose as much as it to create a new ERC20 token representation of existing tokens. Composable ERC20 tokens are the foundation of almost any type of transaction you can think of. And so we need to not necessarily to bring liquidity to Compose, but have a more advanced representation of existing tokens in the form of composable ERC20 standards. And that will open up one of the challenges, really. How do you, for example, you want to move token from chain A to chain B, how do you do that? And so that's where the shared deposit bridge and composable ERC20 token representations come to play, and so on. And so this is as big and important as the shared publisher itself.
Got it. So it's a cross-chain representation. It's a wrapper of the token.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Got it. Thank you.
Basit, do you have any questions? I also just want to tell all the homies that are watching on X, the broadcast is set to end in 3 minutes. So if you want to keep staying online, come join us in Discord. We usually schedule about an hour for these guys, but there's a lot going on. So yeah, just wanted to say that. Basit, go for it, man. We can't hear you, so just double checking. You're with us? If not, I'm also opening up questions from the DAO, or maybe from Age and Daniel. If you guys have something you'd like to find out more about, or just want to say, let's fucking go.
Yeah, sure. I'm very impressed with the timeline, so I'm curious to see this thing kind of in real time be developed. I did have one question. I've been talking to Alan a little bit about this, but at the moment, the SSV validators have about 14% of the network. I imagine in order to get more blocks onto mainnet, the greater number of the validators is ideal for composer speed, right? Somewhat proportional. Are we going to open this to other validators, or is it just initially for SSV?
That's a great question. I think that one of the interesting things about it, and again, I didn't want to overload with information, but when I spoke about economies of scale for the shared publisher, one of the things that it really drives the way to is not only L2 to L2 synchronous composability, but also L1 to L2 synchronous composability. So just imagine that, we've talked about, okay, I'm on rollup A and there's a DEX on rollup B and I want to trade. And so with Compose, I can just do cross-chain DEX trades and that's it. Like, it's super easy, like as if I'm on the same chain. But now expand that to I'm on Ethereum and there's a DEX on chain A. How do I do that, right? How do I take my tokens on Ethereum, move them, trade, and get my tokens back in one transaction within one block? This is called L1 to L2 synchronous composability. This is a bit more tricky than what than L2 to L2, but it depends on two factors. One is fast enough ZK proofs, and not only fast enough ZK proofs, but also fast enough settlement of ZK proofs, which is again going back to the economies of scale of the shared publisher. And two is in depending on the implementation, also how much of the block proposers you're controlling to actually enable this synchronous composability. Not all implementation require the actual control of the block proposer. And so to your point, yeah, if we can have more of those validators, one, we can have just a better kind of credibly neutral layer, which is the shared publisher, but also potentially have more frequent L1 to L2 synchronous composable transactions. But that's kind of a bit further into the future because of kind of technical challenges that the greater Ethereum ecosystem need to advance and solve. I would imagine that probably within 12 to 24 months, we can have full L1 to L2 composability, synchronous composability. Compose wants to bring within the next 12 months L2 to L2 synchronous composability and then evolve it to L1 as well.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks.
Awesome. That's it. I saw your little green frame. I assume you got your mic sorted?
Can everyone hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay. It seems there was a bit of a problem with my mic. So, Alon, I have a few questions for you. So, firstly, can you give me more examples of use cases concerning Compose?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them. So when you have synchronous composability, you open up the door for many different use cases which are not possible today. AlphaZero will demo two main use cases. One is bridging between rollups, and the other one is cross-chain DEX trades. But you can expand it to much more. So for example, think about cross-chain flash loans. You do a flash loan on one chain, move those assets to another, close an arbitrage opportunity and go back and cover your flash loan. So that's another example. Think about singleton dApp deployments. So if you're a dApp today and you want to exist on multiple rollups, you have to deploy your dApp on multiple rollups, which fragments your user base, fragments your liquidity, etc. But with synchronous composability, you only really need to deploy your dApp once. And so think about dApps that require liquidity like DEXs, but also think about dApps like ENS and oracles, where you can just update once and a bunch of chains update together, which is really, really, really powerful. And so there's endless, any type of interaction you can think of on Ethereum with synchronous composability can be applied to cross-chain rollups. That's the power of synchronous composability. It's simply a program calling another program or a contract calling another contract. And so the possibilities are really endless in the same way that they are endless on Ethereum, if it makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. It does. Secondly, my second question, since Compose promises to be kind of neutral by design, is there anything that ensures the decentralization of the shared publisher?
Yeah, the shared publisher is going to be based, meaning that Ethereum validators, starting with SSV validators and later on expanding to all validators, will be running the shared publisher, meaning that the more validators from Ethereum are opting in to the shared publisher, the closer it is in terms of security to the Ethereum Bitcoin node itself. And I think that's one of the design goals, to have it really to be as credibly neutral as a layer as possible, meaning that if tomorrow SSV is gone and is dead as a project, their rollups and their users and the dApp developers are not stuck. It's just validators running a piece of software. That piece of software lives forever. Those validators are not constrained by SSV in any way. They are just validators on Ethereum. And so that was the design goal. And other than the fact that we wanted to align the economics of it with SSV validators or validators in general.
Oh, okay. It seems the shared publisher is like kind of the backbone of Compose. So
Yeah,
I
it
wanted
is.
to also ask, if there's like a proposed fee mechanism for compose services and how the fees will flow back to the DVT operators.
So we haven't finalized any design yet, but what I'm thinking about is a very simple tip-like mechanism where basically if you're creating a transaction that sends that is a cross-chain transaction, you'll simply pay a fee, and that fee will be shared between the shared publisher validators and the sequencers, because the sequencers have to do some work as well. And so that's how it will work. The final design is not there yet. It's going to be towards beta 1, if you remember from the roadmap.
All right. Thank you, Basit, for your questions and all the chats, all the questions in the chat. I think we are running out of time, and our DAO and Foundation have a lot of things happening on their side as well. So yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. I think our last segment is just a kind of a quick catch up, just for the community to understand, what were some big things that happened in the DAO 2025, and what are we looking ahead for in 2026. Yeah, so you guys are up. Please enlighten us. Are they still there?
Yeah.
There we go.
So, as I mentioned, can you hear me? Yeah.
We had some mic issues, but I think you sound okay now.
Yeah. So 2025 was from the foundation perspective and the push forward. There was a lot of things happening, starting with the Mika, with the European side, adding a USDC a pair on Binance, listing on Kraken, moving from VOC to an operator committee, expanding our budget going forward. So a lot of things have happened so far. Also, the foundation is gonna add some firepower on the marketing side that will represent the community and the DAO. This will start hopefully at the end of this year. Providing liquidity in the markets via our market makers, Da Vinci, Selini, and Kirok. And in general, going into the next year, a lot of things that we're looking at would be participating possibly with the listing on Coinbase. That's a big thing that we're gonna have. And final thing would be adding a layer of asset management and tokenomics for the DAO going forward. So a lot of things are planned, and yeah, and also building the entire legal structure to support the staking and the Compose ecosystem.
Awesome. And how are we looking for time? Are you guys are we good?
Yeah, we're all good. So we're having a super time here in Copenhagen. I think this, as I said, meeting, talking, discussing, and building strategy going forward is one of the best things that this community is having at the moment.
Amazing. I think if there's any other mentions for 2026 plans from the DAO side.
As I mentioned, I think the biggest thing for us would be to add that layer that's needed for us for the staking infrastructure, and taking this forward, and doing the proposals and everything required to have the community understand, build, support, and proceed with this great plans that we have ahead of us.
Amazing. I think with that, we can probably say thank you to the community. Thanks for everyone for joining. Thanks to the foundation. Thanks to the DAO, Alon, and our divers. This has been a really insightful conversation. I really hope that Compose gets the eyes it deserves. I think it's really a game changer for Ethereum and for SSV. So yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining. Thank you for spending your time here, and of course, thanks for the community to join. Yeah, let's stay active on SSVX, on ComposeX, and yeah, if you have any questions, there's a Q&A channel. We'll be reaching out. If you want to reach out, we'll have all your questions answered. And yeah, I think that's all she wrote.
Thank you very much.